Time and time again, I'm consistently viewing VOD reviews that people like you send in, and I see over and over, support ultimates are being misused again and again. This is really problematic because supports have some of the most impactful ultimates in the entire game, and if used correctly, this is how you bring out true carry potential out of the support role. Supports everywhere are frustrated by having trash DPS and tanks and feeling like they're unable to carry, but I promise you, if you master support ultimates and start ulting like a Grandmaster player, you will climb rank after rank, winning game after game. All that being said, let's jump into the best tips and tricks for each support ultimate so that you can start ulting like a GM as quickly as possible. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? Now, kicking it off with the first character on our list, we have Ana with her ultimate, Nano Boost. Now, Nano Boost is an ultimate that can have extremely powerful impact, but more often than not, it gets little to nothing done. Important things to identify with Nano Boost is firstly, priority targets. Think about what you should be nanoing on your team. Are there characters that have an ultimate combo, such as a Genji? Or maybe your tank Ryan is the one who needs the nano. In contrast to this, there are some extremely poor nano boosted targets. Think something like a Widow or a Hanzo. More than likely, there will be someone better on your team that you can nano, so finding the best targets to nano is your priority one on Ana. While literally every character in the game can benefit from taking less damage and doing more damage, you need to identify what players on your team can utilize that to the most impact. Now, another big use for Nano Boost is actually bailing out allies. In this way, you're not really thinking about the impact that that character can have. You're thinking about only keeping them alive and allowing them to turn the tables on a diver or a pursuer. Think something like your ally Zenyatta, who doesn't have his Transcendence and gets dived by Winston. If you nano him, not only will he survive the onslaught, he probably will be able to kill the Winston as well, turning the tables on him and keeping him alive. You not only saved an ally, but you got and confirmed a kill as well. Now, a couple things to keep in mind with Nano Boost. It can actually get cancelled if the target you nanoed or if you yourself get killed during its cast time. It's extremely fast, but it definitely does happen, so keep that in mind. Also, don't just throw Nano Boost away. Look to get explicit value in each and every time. Smart Nano Boost usage is one of the big ways you can definitely carry a lot of games on Ana. And last but not least, look to combo again and again. If you're in a duo queue, find a partner that can combo with you. That being said, if you're in solo queue, look to find that nano combo and try to utilize it over and over again. Now, moving on to the next character on our list, we have Baptiste with his ultimate Amplification Matrix. Now, Amplification Matrix is an insanely fast building ultimate, so if you get it really early in a team fight, you can lay it down, get instant value, and win a team fight just with Amplification Matrix alone. This is because it's going to be online before anything else, meaning you could turn a close team fight. Now, in order to get value out of Amplification Matrix, typically, you need to think about two things. First, don't use it too early. If you use Amplification Matrix too early, not only will the enemy team be able to disengage, but you'll get no value at all. Also, don't use Amplification Matrix too late, because often the enemy team can push past it and you don't get enough value out of it to stop their aggression. You really need to be trying to get instant value out of the Amplification Matrix and activate it at the midpoint to where if the enemy team wants to push or disengage, you can still get guaranteed value. Now, another thing you should be thinking about is using it with the team is more consistent, but looking to where your DPS are some of the best things you can do. Finding that DPS like a Soldier or McCree and making sure that they're ready to actively do damage through your Amplification Matrix can make sure that it has that insane impact and they can get those picks that you need to win the team fight. Also, in certain situations, you can actually use Amplification Matrix to increase your self damage and your healing, but make sure that you identify what those situations are and whether or not it's simply better to use it for your whole team to benefit from it. Now, moving on to the next character on the list, we have Brig with her ultimate, Rally. Now, an important thing to understand about armor right now is armor is very powerful. A Brig that's rallying is basically unstoppable, except by massive amounts of CC or getting thrown off the map. This means that there's a lot of uses to Brig, and her capability is immense here. For one, she can duel a lot of different DPSs in the game, and her 1v1 capabilities while rallying are probably the best in the entire game. She can create tons of space in the same way that a main tank can. So if a main tank is dead, you can push that front line and really be the engager. And also, there's no better peeler than a rallied Brig. Not only do you bring the target you're peeling armor because they benefit from the rally themselves, you also get to trigger Inspire, bash the enemy diver, and you're this unstoppable force that can easily peel people off. This is why the important things to understand with rally is firstly, identify what you're trying to accomplish with it. Simply just popping rally off cooldown is fine, but understand just how capable it makes you as a character and what you can do to have immense impact instantly. Also, one of the ways that rally could get little to no value is if you try to lose it in a fight that's already lost. You're not going to be able to 1v6 with rally. Unfortunately, focus fire is one of the ways that you actually can get no value. That being said, using Rally to engage with your team or using Rally to surmise a counterattack, as long as none of your allies are picked off, can be the best way to get guaranteed value out of Rally. You know how else to get guaranteed value out of all your ultimates? Coming over to GameLeap.com. GameLeap.com has in-depth support guides over every support in the game. I know many of you support players are starved for specific content, and we have tons on GameLeap.com. In fact, we're about to launch our brand new Brig Guide featuring more than 5 newly created videos, in-depth tips, and VOD reviews so that you can master Brig as quickly as possible. Don't miss out on this amazing opportunity, and I hope to see you there. Now moving on to the next character on our list, Lucio with his ultimate, Sound Barrier. Now Lucio is definitely one of the most powerful characters in the entire game. His ability to lead his team to engages, disengages, and dictate whole team fights is what makes Lucio so powerful. On top of this, his ultimate Sound Barrier is the best defensive ultimate in the entire game and is one of the best ultimates for actually turning lost team fights. Now something that you need to think about when using Lucio's Sound Barrier is think about timing. What's important to understand here is think about how long it will take for you to activate your ultimate. If you see an ally as low and you activate your ultimate and they die before you get your beat off, it might have been a wasted ultimate and you might get no value out of it. This is why Lucio Beat is an extremely high game sense oriented ability. You need to identify when beat will massively benefit your team. In scrims, we use a concept called squeezing. This is where you wait for the last possible moment to use your defensive ultimates to where you, one, save everyone you were gonna save anyways, but your defensive ultimate lasts just a little bit longer into the mid fight. Being able to bring that line further and ult at the last possible moment can help you have more impact on your Sound Barrier. Now something else you need to think about when ulting is if you ult from the high ground, it means that you have a really far travel time to hit the ground and you don't activate your ultimate until you touch the ground. This also means that ulting from the low ground to the high ground could be a way to speed up your beat and beat that much quicker. Now circling on back to making a game plan with beat, you need to save the important targets on your team. Sometimes due to teammates positioning, you're not going to be able to beat everyone on your team, and you have to identify who's worth saving with your beat. What's your win condition for the fights? Maybe it's your main tank on the front lines, or maybe it's your Genji Ana in the backlines trying to execute a Nano Blade. You need to understand who is your primary target to save, and this will help you identify when to invest Sound Barrier. Now moving on to the next character on the list, we have Mercy with her ultimate, Valk. Now Valk can be a very powerful ultimate when used correctly, but I often see Mercy's use Valk for the wrong reasons. If you use Valk as only a defensive ability, such as Lucio, Beat, or Transcendence, it's honestly vastly underpowered. What makes Valk specifically unique is 1, the mobility it gives to Mercy, and 2, the fact that it can actually amplify damage. Essentially, Mercy Valk can do a pseudo Orisa supercharger when she wants to, and it can also be a pseudo defensive when you need it to. That versatility is what gives Mercy Valk the power level in order to carry fights. Now to specifically talk about that damage increasing ability, that's why Mercy Valk is really good to use during an engage as opposed to trying to turn a lost fight. Unless you could specifically pop a res safely that can make the fight even again, you really want to activate Mercy Valk before the fight starts and amplify your team's damage so they can put pressure and damage into the enemy's health and shields before the actual fight starts. On top of that, Mercy Valk lasts for an incredible amount of time, so you can honestly pre-activate Mercy Valk when you anticipate a fight is going to start. Imagine you're about to cap second point and you know the enemy team will try to contest you here. You could pop Mercy Valk early and damage boost your team so that you're already ready and in the air into safe position. Now the last thing that we need to talk about is your positioning when actually being in Mercy Valk. You need to identify what DPS you're trying to actively avoid and play around them and play in different positioning depending on what type of hero they are. Let me give you this example. If the enemy team has a Doomfist or Genji, as Mercy, you can fly as high as you want to. As long as you're healing or damage boosting your team, you just play out of their effective range so you're not under any sort of pressure. That means that if the enemy team has a Widow or a Soldier and Kree that have ultimate, you really need to hide behind natural covers and walls, and playing really high up can make you vulnerable. Essentially, as Mercy and Valk, you can position anywhere you want to, so you have no excuse to position perfectly optimally to make sure that you don't get picked off. Now moving on to the second to last support on the list, we have Mora with her ultimate, Coalescence. Now, Coalescence is a very fast building ultimate, very similar to the Baptiste amplification matrix we talked about earlier. You can use it to turn a close team fight. If you build up Coalescence early in a close fight, popping Coalescence could be the difference maker to allow you to take the fight convincingly. The best way to look at Coalescence is instead of it as an ultimate, it's just an ability that has a long cooldown. You want to use it as soon as you get it so you can get impact and win a team fight convincingly. Another thing that you can actually do when activating Coalescence is you can throw an orb and animation cancel straight into Coalescence so you get that extra sort of value before you activate your Coalescence. Now, when actually using your Coalescence, you can do several things. The first thing that you should do is focus a target. Coalescence specifically goes through shields, so if an enemy support is weak or has something like a Discord on them, you can blast them with your Coalescence and focus them down, making them kite away, use cooldowns, or die altogether. You could also blast DPS like Genji as long as you practice good tracking and track them to the utmost, because there's honestly nothing they can do about it and it's really hard for them to run away. The last thing that you could do on Coalescence that I think is particularly powerful is focus destroyables, like Immortality Field or Orisa Supercharger. These destroyables in particular can have insane impact for the enemy team, but specifically Coalescence can destroy them through barriers. Enemy teams will be wanting to protect them behind barriers, and Coalescence can be used to shut those things down, making a play and securing the team fight for your team. Now moving on to the last ultimate on our list, Zenyatta with his defensive ultimate, Transcendence. Now with Zenyatta, you need to really be thinking about your positioning when activating Transcendence. Not only when you activate it, but before you activate it as well, because it takes you a while to get to your team. If you're playing too far back when you activate Transcendence, you won't be able to get to your team in time in order to heal them up. The second thing you need to identify is who needs heals. How long will it take you to reach them, and who is most important to heal as well. What I'm saying here is there might be an Ana in your backline getting dove and a Reinhardt on the front line about to die. You need to identify who is the priority target to heal and who you need to support the most. Trying to split the difference is the best way, and being able to micromanage that is something that you should be able to do on Zenyatta. This is why calling your trances is very important, because it allows your team to get ready for your trance, and you can also tell your team pre-fight that you're looking to trance as well. A stack call, which is something incredibly useful as scrims, is something that you say in order to get people to rally to a certain central location. You could say things like stack Zenyatta or stack point, I'm good at Transcendence. These type of calls can allow your teammates to play with confidence, knowing that you'll be there to bail them out if they get in a pinch. Now for some useful micro things about Transcendence, you can actually tank things like Rhine Pin or Doom Punch, so that's something that you can look to do. As long as you're in Transcendence, you won't die from them. However, Ryan can definitely pin you off the map. Now for the last tip, you need to understand that at the ending of your Transcendence, you need to use that opportunity to fix your positioning. Enemies are going to be looking to actively punish you after your trance ends, so making sure that you get back into a good position if the fight is still ongoing is a way that you don't get picked off and punished right after your Transcendence ends. Now I've already told you time and time again about why you should go to GameLeap, and at this point, you already know. For those of you who actually want to improve at Overwatch, go check GameLeap out, and that's all there is to it. I hope this guide has been extremely helpful for you. I'm sure many of you have realized the lack of support and tank content on the channel, and that's simply due to the fact that we get so much more support for the DPS, and that's simply due to the fact that we get so much more support for DPS videos. If you want to see more tank and support videos, smash that like button and let me know in the comments down below. This will allow me to make way more support and tank videos that I know many of you want to see. Any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. That's all I have for you today. I'm Coach Mills. Until next time.
I feel like